Okay, good evening everybody. Trust you all are well. Apologize about yesterday. I was extremely busy. Did not have time to do the stream. I didn't even have my phone on me. So I couldn't, put out a post to let everybody know that we weren't going to be streaming. But today, we are back to our regular scheduled programming. Today is Friday. It is March 24th, 2023. It's about 8:53 p.m. And man, was this a crazy volatile week on Wall Street. Now, despite everything that happened, the market actually closed almost at the dead high of the day. If we're talking about the S&P 500, the NASDAQ doing the same. Really, the only indice that's lagging right now is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So if we sort of close out the week here, I'm looking at tradingview.com. I have a 50-day and a 200-day moving average on the screen. So far, the S&P 500 is just above the 200. It is still sitting below the 50-day. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at 32,237, just below the 200-day and the 50. And the NASDAQ closed at 11,823, above the 200 and also above the 50-day moving average. Now, notice on the S&P 500, notice where we closed. We literally closed right at 4,000, 4,001 to be exact. And that is a very big round number. Actually, wait, I think that's the futures. I think futures are trading at 4,001. So futures are 4,001. The cash is, let's see what cash is. Almost, just a hair shy. We closed at 3970. So it seems like that 4,000 number is a pretty big psychological number. Now, just as a quick review, we did get existing home sales data that actually increased for the first time in 12 months. We've been seeing existing home sales decline for a year straight, which is pretty significant. Obviously, we've been talking about how interest rates going up really set that into the forefront in terms of the declines. But yesterday on the 23rd, when we didn't do the live stream, we actually got new home sales data out. And new home sales actually rose in February for the third straight month in a row. So we have back-to-back sales increases for the new home market, which is pretty interesting. And this is the fastest pace of increases since August. Now, if we look at interest rates, I'm actually going to put this in the chat for you guys. Let me do that now while I'm here. You should see a link to cnbc.com/quotes. And the quote page should take you to the 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Now, take a look at a monthly view of the 30-year fixed. It's just really incredible looking at it. If you look at March 3rd, okay, so the beginning of this month, we had mortgage rates at 7.25%. As of today's close, the 30-year fix is 6.38%. That's incredible. That's really incredible. Just the amount of volatility in the movements in interest rates. So just last week we were talking about a 30-year fixed well over 7%, and now, as of right now, as of the close, according to CNBC, the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage is 6.38%, and I think that's probably spurring a lot of buying activity. I don't know, we'll talk about it. Janet Yellen had a private meeting today with regulators. We'll talk about that. We are going to discuss Deutsche Bank, okay? Amid an environment where we have bank failures left and right, I think it's appropriate to talk about Deutsche Bank and Citigroup. A lot of people are worried about those two particular banks, but if you look back throughout history, those banks, especially Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank, has been a really sore spot in the market. If you look at XLF, which is the ticker symbol for the Spiders financial sector, we are just getting crushed. We're trading 10% below the 50-day moving average. Chart does not look good. However, maybe we can have some sort of a little bit of a dead cat bounce. And one other thing I want to talk about today before we get started on the live stream, we're actually going to go to the Upper East Side, by the way, which I'm pretty excited about. When's the last time we've been to the Upper East Side on the live stream? I think it's been over a month, so I'm excited about that. We are going to talk about something that I'm a little bit worried about, and that's called concentration risk in the indices now. Here's a very good resource for all of you. If you go to slickcharts.com, it'll actually break down the weighting components of the S&P 500, right? So you think about the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100, these are market capitalization weighted indices, right? It's not like the Dow, where it's price weighted. These are market cap weighted. So one of the things that I'm a little bit concerned about now is you're seeing massive amount of concentration in like a couple names, right? So we'll talk about that a little later. I want to throw my backpack on. I'll say hello to everybody in the chat and we will get started. Oh, and last thing we're going to talk about tonight is the CEO of TikTok. He was testifying before Congress. Anybody's thoughts on that? I'm really, really curious what the group thinks about that, but maybe we'll get into that a little bit later. Let me just lock up the office here. Jonathan Earl says, "Did you say slick charts?" I did. You know, let me see if I could post it in the chat. Zach Drew, good to see you. See Teresa Diaz, welcome, welcome. Chris B Smith, Russ Lowers. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat. Says Deutsche Bank is wobbling. Yeah, I mean it is. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. All right, guys, we are now on street level here. It's a beautiful night in Manhattan. It's probably 55 degrees Fahrenheit, clear skies. We're reporting live on 57th Street and 6th and a Half Avenue, right outside of the very famous 157, 220 Central Park South and Central Park Tower. But as you guys know, tonight we're actually going to venture to the Upper East Side. We haven't been there in a while. Long time. I thought, you know what, it's not cold, it's not windy, the weather's actually pretty nice here in New York, so we might as well venture to the Upper East Side. Now, if we have time, I want to show you guys the Met Museum. I think it's really beautiful, especially during this time of year, and I think since it's officially spring, they may have the fountains on, so that'll be cool. I think, you know, the past couple streams we went up by Lincoln Center, which I think you guys liked, so hopefully you appreciate the Upper East Side as well. Hey, Richard Vogel is here. What's up, Richard? Welcome. Jonathan Earl, good to see you. Makina says he got grilled, and if he was more assertive in his answers, TikTok would have been fine. Yeah, so it's interesting, right? Because I think you guys know my personal opinion on, you know, whether I think TikTok should be banned or not, and I think the testimony was all right. I don't think the CEO did too poorly of a job with what he was working with. Now, you guys know I'm not a fan of TikTok. You know I don't have it downloaded on my device. I do think it is a national security risk. This is actually something that I do agree with the Biden administration on. As you guys know, not to get too political tonight, but there's very little that I do agree on with the Biden administration, but I think they're doing the right thing here. In, you know, doing these investigations and the like. But you know what, this is my conclusion from this, okay? Here's my conclusion from the testimony yesterday. And my conclusion is that it's not going to be banned. At least I don't think so. And I've concluded that because I think there's just way too much money involved. And as you know, there's a rule that I sort of follow. I try to follow this in almost every aspect of life, and it's called follow the money, right? So if you just follow the money, I have a really hard time believing that they'll actually follow through and ban TikTok, because if you were reading some of the articles and listening to some of the, I would say, the interviews with some of the counter protesters. Did anybody see that? I think there were a bunch of people, creators, and even small businesses that were, and not even small businesses, guys, pretty large businesses too, that were rallying outside of, Congress in DC. They were saying, hey, TikTok is a good marketing platform for us. It drives a lot of business, and you're going to be hurting the smaller consumer and small businesses if you ban this. So what I think is going to happen, I think ByteDance is going to capitulate. I think they're going to be forced and backed into a corner, if you will, to sell off part of the company. So I think you'll probably have a forced divestiture or like a breakup there. But I don't know. I find the odds, after watching the testimony and reading a lot of the articles and listening to some of the interviews of the counter protesters, this would just be a very bad look, especially going into an election year, 2024, if you ban something that apparently drives a lot of revenue in terms of advertising dollars, benefits small businesses. I'm just very against it, because the terms of service is really, really egregious, and I don't want to go too deep into it, but it's pretty much at any moment's notice the CCP could have direct access to user data, which is I think is not appropriate in my view. All right, let me give you guys one last shot of Billionaires Row here, and we'll get started. Hey, Arsenal fan, good to see you. Says, yeah, I agree. TikTok is potential spyware, and it is detrimental for children's attention spans. Yeah, well, I mean, I think anything on that side of the house, like, is it detrimental to attention spans and things like that? I guess, right? But I am a firm believer of having, free will in a free market. Where I find a problem with it is the terms of service and the ability for the CCP to access any random American's data. I think there should be something put in place to where that is definitely not allowed to happen. And I think it will, after hearing what we heard in the testimony. Hey, Kevin says, what's up with all the trash on the street? There is a lot. I think it's garbage night. But yeah, there's tons of trash piled up on the street for sure. Max says, well, given the bipartisan Congress, or how bipartisan Congress was, I feel them backing down off of TikTok might make them look weak. I think they want flesh, as in no more TikTok in the United States. Well, I agree, but I don't think they're going to ban it outright. I think they'll probably force the sale to an American company, and I think there'll probably be two distinct companies, perhaps. I don't know. I just find it really, really hard to, now that I'm thinking about it, to conclusively say, okay, we're just going to ban the entire thing. Like, how would that even work? Would Apple be forced to remove it from the App Store? Would Google be forced to remove it from the Google Play Store? It would be very interesting, for sure. And again, using the follow the money approach, the USA is a big, big superpower and driver of revenue and advertising dollars. So this isn't in China's best interest either. You understand? So China is very coin operated as well. So I think this is a mutually beneficial relationship. And I think now that the pressure is on, I think somebody's going to be forced to cave. But I think there's just too much money involved for both parties to allow a total ban, in my view. Hey, Brick Stonewall says, looks like every night is garbage night in New York City. Yeah, maybe. Jonathan Earl says they're going to demand TikTok change their platform so we can monitor. Maybe, I don't know. Hey, Brian, I'll be in New York City in 2 weeks. Awesome, dude. We're happy to have you here. Well, we're now on the corner of 5th Avenue and 57th Street. This is the Louis Vuitton building here. Sally is here, welcome. Now, I don't know. I don't really want to spend too much time on the TikTok thing, but I now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, I really don't think that they're going to ban it. I think you're going to hear an announcement probably within, the next couple weeks or probably a month of some sort of resolution, right? Some sort of resolution. Because again, when this much money is involved, obviously it's in ByteDance's best interest too, to appease the American government as well as the CCP. So I'm sure there's going to be some sort of a resolution. But I would be actually surprised now if we see a full-on ban. And I've sort of taken a little bit of a 180 on it because you guys know I'm like, yeah, we should probably ban it. But now I'm more along the lines of they're probably going to find a resolution to something. Hey, Keith, what's up? Good to see you, Keith. Welcome. Hope you're well. Vladimir is here. Says, Tom, are you going to the Miami Open? I'm not, but I actually have a couple clients who are going. If I was in Miami, I would. But no, unfortunately, I'm not. I think one of my main goals this year, though, guys, is to try to go to more sporting events. I really do, especially out east here. Maybe go to a Mets game, go out to Queens, get to some tennis events, things like that. Now, here's what I think we're going to do. We're going to make a left on Madison Avenue, and we're going to venture up into the Upper East Side. We never go to the Upper East Side on the streams. It's always the Upper West Side or Midtown Manhattan. So it's going to be cool. You guys are going to be able to see a real deep contrast between the type of the architecture that's in Midtown, a lot of the Billionaires Row buildings, such as this one, 432 Park Avenue, which is what you're looking at now, a very funky looking building. Also, all these buildings that I just showed you here, Steinway Building, Central Park Tower, 157. Now, as we venture further on to the Upper East Side, you're going to see some very, very similar resemblances of the Upper West Side. So I want you to think back to our stream, I think it was 2 days ago when we went up to the Dakota Apartments. But the way I would describe it, if I could describe it in one sentence or less, I would say the Upper East Side is a more polished Upper West Side. Do you guys think that's a fair description of the Upper East? And as we walk deeper into it, I think you guys will see exactly what I'm talking about. But I think as you spend a lot of time on the Upper West Side, you'll see that it's a more dirty Upper East Side. And I'm not saying that in necessarily a bad way, just for lack of a better term here, because my brain is fried from the week, but it's very polished. I would say it's more bougie. Everything is well put together. You'll see. Hey, Little Larry Sellers is very interesting description. Good to see you. Bryce Cooley says the dollar is fake money, gold and silver is God's money, Bitcoin is the people's money. Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to talk about that, does anybody know where the Dixie closed today? I think we closed at 102, didn't we? Or maybe 103. All right, real quick, I'll give you a shot of One Vanderbilt. Really, really big, bright blue tonight. But the Dixie has been relatively strong versus, some other currencies, but well off of its highs. I think we closed below the 250-day moving average this week. And gold, silver, platinum, palladium, pretty much all of the precious metals got a pretty big bid this week, right? And that includes digital gold. Now, I will say this. Again, we always like to use the moving averages as a guide, right? You look at the 50, you look at the 200, and we are getting a little bit extended here. The main movers like gold traded about $2,000 an ounce briefly today. I think early morning trading, when the S&P was actually in the red, gold actually broke 2,000 for probably like 2 or 3 minutes. And then we hovered around like 1997, 1995 an ounce on gold. I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to consolidate here for a little bit because I mean, the moves we've had in gold, silver, platinum, palladium have really been breathtaking. Hey, Zach Drew, good to see you, my friend. Hey, somebody says hi from Haiti. Love New York City. Thank you for being here. Bryce Cooley says I have $20,000 worth of gold and silver coins. Very nice. Hey, Hawaii, good to see you. Now, guys, check this out. This building, very iconic Plaza Hotel here. But you see these two buildings here, these two very bright towers? That's actually the Deutsche Bank towers all the way at Columbus Circle. So 59th Street pretty much cuts, this is the very bottom of Central Park. And Deutsche Bank has been all over the mainstream financial channels pretty much for the last 2 or 3 days. Would you guys agree? Everybody is looking for the next domino to fall, if you will. So we had Credit Suisse, right? That had to be bought out by UBS. Now, I think you're probably going to see some rumblings there with Deutsche Bank, which is a German investment bank that trades under the ticker symbol DB. But here's what I was talking to my friend about this today. And it was always a horror show at Deutsche Bank. There were always problems. There were always problems at Credit Suisse. And there were always problems at Citi. Now, if you go to tradingview.com or whatever sort of charting software you use, just look at it. Look at these particular stocks on a monthly time frame. Every single year, it's just been I think I posted this on Twitter. I said it's been death by 1,000 cuts over a decade for Deutsche Bank, Credit Suisse, and a lot of other banks. So I think this bank run scenario that we're having here that's really started off with Silvergate, Silicon Valley Bank, is sort of potentially acting as the pin that's pricking the rest of the bubble. Look at this Tesla taxi across the street. Anybody know off the top of your head what model that is? Maybe a model, what is that, S? Tesla Model S? They look really nice. Maybe we'll have to go get in one on one of the live streams. Bryce Cooley says own real estate, gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Paper dollars are only good for toilet paper. Well, I really want to, and I forgot to program this into the Nightbot. I was just so busy today. But if you go look on my Twitter page, @WalksWallStreet, there was a guy I follow on Twitter. I think he's a big multifamily real estate developer in New York City. And he was showing me, well, he posted an article of a breakdown of the major exposure a lot of these banks have, specifically the New York bank that just went under. And for some reason, everybody, I don't know why, I always forget that one specific name. It's Silvergate, Silicon Valley Bank, and the other one that begins with an S. Signature Bank, there we go. It was an article really well written about the huge exposure Signature Bank has in the New York City real estate market, specifically as it relates to commercial real estate. And I think you're going to see some big problems there. But we covered that almost to the point of ad nauseum on the stream. So commercial real estate specifically, I think you're going to see big problems. All right, let me stop here. I want to show you guys some of the buildings here going on the Upper East Side. As you could tell, notice the transition from Midtown to the Upper East Side. You have all the original buildings, which I like very much. I consider this a more polished Upper West Side. Streets are a lot quieter too. Brick Stonewalls is unlikely you'll see a Tesla Model X used as a taxi, at least in this country. Well, which model do you think that was? Mr. Cheeks says the IRS is a criminal organization. Angel says Jim Cramer said Deutsche Bank is fine and wealthy. Did he really say that? Yeah, Jim Cramer tends to say a lot of interesting things on Mad Money, but you know, these European banks have always been, I'm trying not to be too negative, but have always been really, really horrible, especially after the 2008 financial crisis. Now, if you do your research, the reason why a lot of these European banks never really recovered after '08 is because they had so much exposure, or I should say the most exposure to these toxic assets, right? All of these toxic derivatives on the balance sheet. German banks, for whatever reason, couldn't get enough of them. So if you think about the derivative exposure that many of these banks are exposed to, it's in the quadrillions. So Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, look at this Hermes building here. I finally pronounced it right for you guys. Look at this. Really beautiful architecture. Actually has some sort of a horse on the top. Really, really unique. But what does everybody think about the emergency secret meeting with Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and other regulators? Now, it's not open to the public, so I don't think we're going to be able to get a key in on what was talked about in the meeting. But I think it's pretty obvious, right? I know, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Do you think they're planning for an Armageddon scenario? Now, I'll give you my take a little bit. It's pretty obvious why they did it on a Friday, because usually if, you know, other banks are going to go under, something like that, they do it when markets are closed so they have enough time to deal with it and announce some sort of a program. This is exactly what they did with Silicon Valley Bank. Look at the architecture on these buildings. So it's not a surprise to me that they called this secret emergency meeting on a Friday right into the market close, so they have all weekend to deal with it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some major announcement, not necessarily about another bank going under, but maybe some other type of repo program that is going to be coming on. Hey, Ryan Beck is here. What's up? Good to see you, Ryan. Dan Zhang is here. This is Tom. How was your day? My day was good. It was a busy week, though. It was a busy week. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep in tomorrow. I'm going to definitely sleep in tomorrow. It was a crazy week for me. But we're here on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Now, notice the storefronts here, guys. Very different to the Upper West Side. These are very high-end boutique stores. Obviously, you could see over here. I don't even know how to pronounce. Anytime you can't pronounce the name of it, you know it's rather expensive and really nice. But look at how unique the stores look. Everything is really polished, really well put together. Check out the chandeliers in this particular building. It's really beautiful up here. Hey, Kevin Ramsey, what's up? This is Happy Friday. Good to see you, Kevin. I really like this building with those big, sort of light wood doors. Brian says, I wonder how much they cost per storefront. You know, I think we may see some square footage comparisons as we walk up here. But I will tell you this. As we pass like 70th Street, you guys are going to see a lot of the storefronts you'll see are vacant. Now, we haven't been up here in like a month, so hopefully some of them were filled. But here's another one. Really, really nice boutiques. You could tell this is probably really high-priced stuff. Hey, Julia M., what's up? Good to see you. Trust you're well. Now, just as a reminder, this is Madison Avenue. That guy scared the hell out of me. Look at this building. Really, really nice. Now, if you look at crude oil, This is another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Crude oil is now officially back below $70. And if you look at the action in the bond market, if you look at the action in crude oil, it's really, really screaming a recession, like from the rooftops. So we have crude oil under $70. I think we closed today at what, 69.80, maybe 69.70. This is another really nice building here. I actually want to take you guys a little bit further down here because this looks to be a brownstone that is totally redone on the inside. Look at this. I guess it's a restaurant, but you could tell this is totally redone. Look at that. Made ghosts, but oil reserves are at levels below 1983. I think that's actually good news, surprisingly, right? So our strategic petroleum reserves are drained. That is true. But look at the price of oil, right? If we could fill up the strategic petroleum reserves when crude oil is below $65, that's a win for us, right? Think about where crude oil was trading at this time last year. I should say, early March 2022. $130 a barrel. Would you rather fill it up at $130 a barrel, or would you rather fill it up here at 60? I'd say 60. Look at this. You guys see what I mean by a more polished Upper West Side? Really, really nice. Hey, Sunshine After Rain is here. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Jeremy is here. Always a pleasure to see you. Yeah, Brendan O'Brien says uninversion / steepening of yield curve, especially screaming recession, particularly in the context of historically high PEs. Indeed. Now, I guess it can be looked at in two ways. I'm surprised that this restaurant is closed. Or maybe it's open, but there's just nobody here. It looks like a nice place, though. That brings me to another point. I'm getting distracted by all the cool buildings here, guys. Look at this. This is no parking, 24-hour active driveway. And look at the place. You have this huge spiral staircase here that goes all the way up to the 3rd floor. Look at how unique that is. That is incredible. Hold on, let me cross. Now, guys, here's what I want you to do. And this is actually something that's concerning me a little bit as we look at this very unique spiral staircase here that goes all the way up to the top floor of this apartment. Man, that is awesome. Look at that. Now, I want you guys to Google this. Weighting of S&P and weighting of NASDAQ 100. And what you'll see is that we're starting to have extreme, I should say, well, let's say concentration. We're having extreme concentration into like 5 names. That's 432 Park Avenue, by the way, that we were just looking at. Now, I think this is the most concentrated the indices have ever been, ever. So let's first take the S&P 500 as an example, and then we'll talk about the NASDAQ 100. So again, if you just type in top 10 companies in the S&P 500, the first link that's going to pop up is going to give you all this data. So in the S&P 500, Apple makes up 7.1% of the entire index. Think about that. One stock, Apple, makes up over 7% of the entire index. Number 2, we have Microsoft. Ticker symbol MSFT, makes up 6.2% of the index. This is a really interesting story here. Number 3, you have Amazon, ticker symbol AMZN, makes up almost 3% of the index. Well, that means 16% of the S&P 500 is crowded into 3 stocks. Now, many people, right, including myself, many passive investors, right now, chances are if you have a 401k, IRA, Roth IRA, whatever type of investment account, this is really unique here. Look at these flowers. You probably have some sort of an index fund that tracks a broader indice, right? The S&P 500, the NASDAQ, or the Dow Jones Industrial Average, because people want diversification, right? That is why people buy the indice, because they're like, you know what? I don't want to waste my time picking individual stocks, so I'm just going to buy an index fund that'll give me, exposure to America's 500 largest companies. Well, now, if you buy the S&P and you have your whole portfolio in the S&P 500, you have 16% of your portfolio in 3 companies that have the same exact beta, right? And we talk about this a lot when we refer to beta weighting. So in portfolio management, oh guys, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So once you cross like 70th Street, you're going to see a lot of vacant places here on the Upper West Side. I wonder how much per square foot something like this would cost. This is like prime retail space here on Madison Avenue. What do you guys think if you had to guess price per square foot of a place like this? Anyway, so what beta means is, let's say if there's a big tech company, right? So there's a lot of people say, oh, I'm very well diversified. I own ExxonMobil, I own Shell, and I own Occidental Petroleum. Well, you're not diversified because you own stocks in the same sector, right? So the S&P 500, it's sort of turning into that, right? You're not really well diversified if you're owning Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon. They're all pretty much big tech conglomerates. So that's my only concern. These are really nice pieces here. This is a really beautiful art gallery here on the Upper East Side. Again, very clean, very unique. But yeah, I think that's something we need to watch, is the continuation of crowding in the indice and big weighting to these big tech companies. Again, 15% of the whole S&P 500, 16% of the whole S&P 500 is in 3 stocks, guys. I mean, that is, it's not necessarily diversification, if you ask me. Hey, War Walker is here. What's up, War Walker? Speaking of Miami, hope you're well. Now look, work in progress. This looks to be a big residential apartment building that's going to be going up right here. But there also appear to be doing some work on these older brownstones here too. Brick Stonewall, says Tom, Walmart announced they are closing a bunch of underperforming stores in several states. Now, is that because of the shoplifting, or is this an unrelated, or are they just doing this in general? Because I remember on Walmart's last earnings report, the CEO came out and said they're going to be forced to close some stores in specific states because the shoplifting has just gotten out of control. It's gotten out of hand. Is that the reason they announced this, or is this something totally separate? Now, guys, chances are if you go to a drugstore here in New York, it's going to take you probably 20 to 25 minutes to get in and out of there, especially if you need to buy soap, toothpaste, or anything like that, because everything is behind lock and key. Everything is behind like these plexiglass lock boxes, because there's just so much retail theft. So hopefully that's not the cause. Hey, Richard Vogel says big time shoplifting at Home Depot by me. So where's by you, Richard? Are you on Long Island? Dan Zhang says, Tom, Walmart closed most of the stores in Oregon due to theft. Holy crap. 444 Truth Teller says, hey, just checking in. Good to see you. Got Yours here says, I just did Google search. An average on Madison Avenue is $100 per square foot. That sounds right. British Gray says they are doing it for shoplifting. Now, British Gray, you're in Tampa, Florida. I'm curious to see what... oh, actually, I don't want to cross the street yet, guys. Look at this. Look at how gorgeous this building is. We're standing on the corner of East 66th Street and Madison Avenue. Look at this. Now, one of the things I love about this building right here is the very stark contrast between the windows that are all outlined in black and sort of it's like a bright brownish white for the brick. Really, really nice. All right, I'm just trying to read some of the comments. Yeah, Richard Vogel says they don't build them like they used to. They definitely don't. We'll cross this way since we got the light. We haven't been on the Upper East Side in a while, so I guess we'll just walk around. I'm enjoying looking at all the different buildings, especially this one. This one is probably my favorite one of the night so far. Hey, Tyree is here. What's up, Tyree? Justin S. says, I love the different architecture of the different buildings in New York. I would agree, my friend. Kevin Lane says Suffolk County, Long Island. Wow, there's a lot of shoplifting in Suffolk County? I guess in some specific places I wouldn't be surprised, but you know, usually the further out east you go in Suffolk, the nicer it gets. But I mean, guys, that's the sign of the times, right? We're dealing with record high inflation. Economy's not doing too good. If you look at consumer data, right, consumer credit data, what do you see? You see people are maxing out their credit cards now. We're just starting to see delinquencies for credit card delinquencies go up. So consumers are hurting. I think that fuels the fire. Look at this place. Gorgeous, gorgeous place. Looks like there's more retail space available for lease here. But look at the architecture of the building. I would love to live in a unit like this. Hey, PJL says, would have been nice to cut in a balcony on the round corner of that building. I agree, that would look really nice. All right, we'll continue to walk up. Somebody says, how much is the retail rent per month? I'm not sure. It varies a lot depending on where you are. Now, an interesting thing I noticed, and I said before, for whatever reason, everybody, the further you venture up onto the Upper East Side, the more vacancies that I see. I don't know why. Now, Upper East Side is a very residential neighborhood, right? So it's not like Midtown Manhattan where you have a lot of offices. So the people who are on the Upper East Side pretty much live here, right? It's very, very residential. And maybe, if you think about the demographics of the Upper East Side, you know, generally the stereotype is it's, you know, very old money, well-to-do people, you know, money passed down through generations and generations. And I think probably ever since COVID happened, or the virus, right? You had a lot of these older folks maybe go to their second home in Florida or Nantucket or out east on Long Island. So maybe they're not spending as much time here. And if they're not spending as much time here, that definitely means they're not shopping here, right? At least as much as they were before. Again, here's another example of retail space for lease. You'll see, as we continue to go up, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Here's another example. And this building's really nice. Look at this building with the red awnings. Looks really beautiful. Hey, Cartersville says, what camera are you using? Amazing quality. Thank you so much. We are using an iPhone 13 mini to stream. And we do these live streams in 1080p. Now this is the Michael Kors store. Really nice windows here. But if we want to sort of translate this into stock talk, A very, very strong performer has been LVMH Moet Hennessy. And I think for a brief amount of time, everybody, the CEO passed Elon Musk for richest man on earth. Now, Tesla's stock price has recovered significantly, so I think Elon Musk is now the richest man on earth once again. But for a short period of time, it was the CEO of LVMH. All right, here's another example of more vacancies here. 797 Madison Avenue, entire building for lease. Look at that, the entire thing is vacant. Yeah, Hawaii says love the windows. I enjoy all of the architecture here on the Upper East Side, Madison Avenue. But again, here's another vacancy right here, entire building for lease. So 1, 2, 3 entire buildings for lease just on this one block. Oh, these people are moving, so I don't think we should count that. It says we're moving to 721 Madison Avenue, opening in 2023, so we won't count that one as a vacancy. But I think you guys start to see what I mean, right? Hey, Double Eagles says crime tends to be lower in areas where criminals act like thefts are persecuted, says Double Eagle. I think that would be a reasonable supposition for sure. Okay, now we are at East 68th Street. Look at these buildings across the way here. Really nice. Yeah, Brian says these empty spaces are probably bringing down the rents. And I also think it really has to do with the, Amazon effect, right? Now, also, everybody, notice the stores, right? Notice the storefronts that are not vacant. The ones that do have tenants, these are very expensive boutique style stores, right? And usually, if the Upper East Side has a stigma of a lot of the boutiques being very high end, servicing, wealthier individuals, well, the rents are going to be significantly higher, right? So think about all of the business that you have to do if you're a retailer like this to afford all of the rent. I just don't think there's enough market share to go around up here. I mean, people are doing more shopping online than ever before. And I think it's very hard for these, boutiques to compete. We'll check out some more. I think this is really interesting, is sort of like a feet on the street market research stream. Wow, look at how gorgeous this desk is. This caught my eye the moment I saw it. Look at that. Love that. I think that's the new iMac, by the way, too, with the M1 chip. But look at all the encrusted marble here. This very rich black style marble. Look at how funky the the chandelier. Is that a chandelier or is that a ceiling fan? Chat, what do you think, team? Chandelier, ceiling fan, or both? I think it's chandelier. But this is a very, very unique, probably a furniture store, right? Hey, Michael says, hey, Tom, how are you doing? Any plans for the weekend? Michael, thank you for asking, first of all. I appreciate that. Hey, I mean, my plan for tomorrow is sleep in. I'm tired, guys. I'm exhausted from the week. I'm sure many of you are, too. I'm just looking forward to taking a break. I just need one day to take a break. And I think that day is going to be tomorrow for me, so. But yeah, I'm excited for the weekend. The rain is supposed to hold off, hopefully. All right, here's another one. Look at this. Storefront. It looks like this entire unit is vacant, guys. Look at this. Yeah, Hawaii is like, yeah. So this is vacant, but this is a really, really interesting Dolce & Gabbana. I'm trying to show you guys as many shots of the buildings as I can, just so you could see the difference, right? So as you're watching the streams, when we're streaming in Midtown, you could really see the stark contrast. I think that's one of the reasons why I love Manhattan so much, is because in 20 minutes, you could be in a neighborhood like the Upper East Side, where almost at times it doesn't even feel like you're in Manhattan. And then you could be, 34th Street, Pennsylvania Station, and that's like a whole different world. It almost looks like a whole different city. So you definitely have diversity in architecture for sure. Here's another retail space for lease. I think we're up to about 15 now, 15 vacant spaces. I'll quickly venture down one of the side streets here. Now, I believe we're going to be approaching a very famous college here. It's called Hunter College. That is within the City University of New York system, so the CUNY system. It's actually where I went to school. The City University of New York John Jay College. But Hunter College is also a very good school within that university system. Guys, check that out. Oh my God. I think these are big, like cast iron doors almost. Let me see. Or maybe it's wood. I think it's wood finish, but don't they kind of look like big cast iron, really, really heavy doors? Look at that. That is beautiful. I know. Yeah, was that a bit? I don't know. It kind of looks like. Let's try to read the thing here, guys. I think this is somebody's residence, actually. Yeah, I think this is just very, very wealthy people. Wow, look at that. This appears to be very rich white marble staircase. That is really breathtaking. Hey, Manny Explorers, what's up? Good to see you, Manny. Happy Friday to you. We're just checking out some of the homes here on the Upper East Side. Really beautiful stuff. I think my favorite is that marble staircase. It's gorgeous. Ah, it's a fine arts dealer. Evan Weeks, thank you for that. So everybody, this one is a fine arts dealer. As you can tell, I'm not very caught up with the arts, but I also think a lot of diplomats live up here too. All right, what do you guys like better, this one or this one in the very classic red brick? Wow, I would love to live up here. I think it's a little bit too far out of my price range, though. Just the buildings are gorgeous. Claudius says all of them. Yeah, I like all of them too. This one looks a little bit more put together. I think they resurfaced the whole thing. Love the doors on this one, and this one too. I think I like the doors better here. It's this very rich sort of red oak. Man, look at those windows. I wouldn't be surprised if these are the original windows here. Yeah, Wendy England's like a limestone white maybe on this one. Really nice. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if those are the original windows. Guys, look at that. You could actually almost see into the great room. It sort of looks like something out of The Great Gatsby. I think I could see a grand piano in there too. Now, does anybody notice, here's something else I picked up on just from walking around the neighborhood. Why is all of the restaurants, okay, let me not say it right here. I'll wait till I get away from the front door. How come the restaurants on the Upper East Side appear to be empty, but when we walk around Midtown, everything is packed? Did anybody else notice that? I can there's two women dining. It looks like a gorgeous place, but if this restaurant were in Midtown, it would be overflowing. I mean, guys, we do these live streams all the time, but Upper East Side, it doesn't seem like too much business. Did anybody else notice that? I don't know, maybe it's just me. Yeah, Canard Bar is like, let's get one of those buildings for me. Hey, I would accept it. Somebody says, why are the street huts still up? Well, I don't know. I think I actually like them. I think New York City is nice with the outdoor dining. As long as you can upkeep it and it doesn't look like it's falling apart. I actually think it's kind of nice, but as long as it's well maintained and upkept, I don't see why they shouldn't have them up. Hey, Golden City. This is Tom. I didn't get a notification for your stream. I hope you're good. Thank you so much. I think you have to click the notification bell. But thank you for joining us as we stroll the Upper East Side tonight. Yeah, 45 says Midtown gets all the attention, unfortunately. Now, Midtown is for working. Midtown is for going out to eat, having a good time. The Upper East Side, as you guys can notice, it's more for living. It's quiet, right? Think about when we do the live streams in Midtown. You see tons of people on the sidewalk. Here, it's only me, right? A couple construction workers. So, again, Upper East Side is for living, and it's also very clean up here as compared to the Upper West. Hey, Dutch is here. This is first time watcher, and I like your interest in architecture and history. Isn't an idea to visit places they're still intact, they're referring to Dutch past of New York City, New Amsterdam? Well, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I think the architecture up here is pretty cool. This is St. James Church. I think the reason why we're so mesmerized by it tonight is because very seldom do we ever make our way up here. Hey, Beacon, New York says a lot of wealthy on the Upper East Side have left for their weekend homes. That's actually a very good point. That's actually a very good point, and that's one of, I don't know, I shouldn't say a thesis, but maybe that's why you see a lot of vacancies in the storefronts here. Because, again, not to, pinpoint demographics, but it's well known in New York that the Upper East Side has a lot of old money, right? That's passed down from generations and generations, and very wealthy older individuals live here. So when the virus hit, right, when COVID hit, who was more likely to be able to go to their place in Connecticut, go to their place in the Hamptons, go to their place in Palm Beach, Miami, Fort Lauderdale? Well, the residents of the Upper East Side. And that's probably why you see a lot of vacancies in the retail storefronts, because nobody's really going in to buy anything. Now, I'm not saying, I'm using no one as a general terminology, but look at this. This is the Ralph Lauren store. This is another gorgeous piece of architecture here. Hey, Ford Brown. Good to see you, sir, and happy Friday night to you. Doing some major construction there. Now, speaking of C19, everybody, doing this walk tonight, I want to point out something to you guys. I want everybody to focus right on Madison Avenue right here. Does everybody notice how there's virtually no vehicles, no cars? Not even cars parked on the side of the road? If you want to know exactly what it was like living in New York during the pandemic, just look right here. This is exactly how everything looked. you were able to literally skateboard down the middle of the street, ride your bike down the middle of the street, which we did on the live stream, by the way, and nobody. It was a ghost town. This is exactly how it looked. Hey, Jimmy Anderson, what's up? Good to see you, Jimmy. This appears to be some sort of a boutique, like kids' boutique. Very Upper East Side. This is really nice too. You could probably tell these are the original windows. You guys see that? Cindy Foley? Yeah, I agree. This is the Madison Avenue Presbyterian Church. We'll walk up 2 more blocks, and then I'll show you guys Central Park. But very, very quiet. And this is a Friday night in the city. Very quiet on the Upper East Side. Now, I do want to point out and remind everybody that this week was a very important week for the bond market. And we also heard from the Federal Reserve. So keep in mind that the Fed funds rate is now at a target range of 4.75 to 5%. Now, if you look at the yield curve in and of itself, right? So if you go to cnbc.com/bonds, once again, cnbc.com/bonds, you can look at the yield curve in real time. This is the Apple Store. We briefly talked about Apple today. You know, Apple now makes up a 7.1% weighting in the S&P 500. Also, it makes up a 12% weighting in the NASDAQ 100, which is crazy. Hey, Evan Weeks, is Tom. I discussed the banking crisis with a family member, and he was of the opinion that people should vet their banks, and I realized I'd never really looked into mine, so I looked into USAA. Yeah, I guess I would agree, right? Everybody should be cognizant of what banking institution they are being a part of. I agree. I think on a larger scale, what was the big controversy with, the Silicon Valley Bank and all of the other ones that went down, is a lot of people are making the argument that, it's your own fault if you have more than, the $250,000 limit in the bank, right? That's your own fault. You should diversify. I think the people who are making that argument, just not trying to be mean, probably have never operated a business before. Because if you operate a business and you employ, let's say, 100 or more people, your operating expenses for the month could be in the millions, right? So naturally, if you're paying payroll and doing things like that, you're automatically going to have more than $250,000 in the account. So I do understand and I do agree that people should vet their banks. They shouldn't be totally oblivious to it. But on a higher level, the United States economy is so big. And, even if you look at a small to medium-sized business, their operating expenses a month could be into the millions. Guys, I have to point out this building here, because this is actually one of my favorite museums of all time, but I need to clarify something, okay? So this is the corner of Madison Avenue and East 75th Street. Now, check this out. Corner of Madison Avenue and East 75th Street. This is actually called the Henry Clay Frick Museum, or the Frick Collection. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, Tom, this doesn't look like the Frick House, the Henry Clay Frick House. And you're right, it's not. This isn't it. This is actually the satellite location. Now, what they're doing here is they're totally resurfacing and redoing the original house of Henry Clay Frick. So they've removed all of the exhibits, for lack of a better term, right? And all of the exhibits are now in this building, a satellite location about 10 blocks north. Is it still worth going to the museum and checking it out? 100%. But just know that the main attraction of going to the Frick collection is actually looking at his original house, right? Which is just unbelievable. So here it is. It says the temporary new home of the Frick collection. It is Frick Madison. And this is one of my favorite museums in all the city. It's probably, this one is number one, and number two is the Morgan Library, which is quite close to the Empire State Building. Mac says, my issue is how are people supposed to vet a bank when even the FDIC couldn't vet the bank correctly when it's their job? Yeah, well, I mean, again, I think with this banking collapse, everybody, when the Federal Reserve raises rates by 500 basis points in less than 2 years, right, about a year and a half, things are bound to break, right? You're bound to destroy or break something. Wow, look at this. This is a pretty awesome shot looking all the way down Madison Avenue. You could actually see one Vanderbilt all the way in the distance, too. Now, again, we're coming off 14 years of ZIRP, right, zero interest rate policy, and the vast majority of debt in the world was negative yielding debt. So extremely low interest rates, high bond prices because interest rates were really low. So when you unwind all of that, it's obvious that a lot of these banks are going to have a lot of this very low yielding debt on the balance sheet. And as we know, it's an inverse correlation, right? This is another gorgeous home. Look at that. You know, as bond prices go down, yields go up. And yields have been going up in a magnificent way this year. So you have a lot of mark-to-market losses on the balance sheet. Now, to be fair, yields actually went down again today. Look at the 10-year U.S. Treasury yield, everybody. I think the 10-year is, 3.38% today? You know what I love about this place? Look at the two lion heads on the door. Those are so unique. Love that. But I think I like this one a little bit better. Sort of this cherry oak, very, very rich door. Really nice. And I could bet you anything, somebody probably bought this brownstone here and is probably doing a total rip and replace. Hey, Robert Parker is here. What's up, Robert? Wow, this is you're a mile away from my house on 94th and 1st Avenue. Very cool. Love that. Good to see you, Robert. And hopefully you have a great weekend. We'll head up a couple more blocks. Let's see if we can get all the way to the Met tonight. We'll see. Alexandria's here. Welcome. Justin says, how many family houses are these? Well, the brownstone sometimes is like a duplex, sometimes a triplex. Let's actually take a look at some of the real estate here. I'm not sure if they're going to put any of the prices on. We'll just wait for these this couple to go by. But I think this is Compass. This is a Compass location. So here's an example for you guys, okay? 455 Central Park West, Unit LM20. It's about 3,800 square feet, 4 bedroom, 5 bathroom. $4.75 million. It's actually not bad. Let's take a look at this one. 35 Sutton Place. I took you guys to Sutton Place. This is actually one of the most sought after neighborhoods in all of New York. 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, 1.3. We'll just call it 1.3 million. Sutton Place is a gorgeous neighborhood. If you guys haven't seen some of our walking tours of Sutton Place, you got to check it out. It's a gorgeous neighborhood. Yeah, 45 is buying bonds in a high price during ZIRP and selling them at low prices with a 500 basis point jump in rates. Of course, the banks would fail. Yeah, and that's exactly what's going on. And again, not to sort of sound like I'm playing it off nonchalant, but at the end of the day, there's only so much we could hammer on it, right? There's only so much, psychoanalyzing Jim Cramer and all the other people on CNBC could say about it. I mean, it's obvious. You're going to break something if you enter into one of the craziest tightening cycles in our history. Does this say the Carlyle, everybody? Look at the original. Those are probably the original doors. This is a really unique building. Unfortunately, it has all the scaffolding on it. Yeah, Michael Joseph's 79th and 5th Avenue. Great architecture. Just to give you an idea, look at how tall 432 Park Avenue is. You could still see it from all the way up here. Crazy. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight from the Upper East Side, feel free to click the like button and hit the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams about 7 days a week between New York City and Miami. Walk the streets of New York, talk about the financial markets. Here is another vacant retail space here on Madison Avenue. Look at this one, guys. This one's pretty big. Now, if I had to guess, this was probably some sort of a clothing boutique or a jewelry store. But here's another one. I think this is probably what? We're up to... Would you say 20 is too... Am I being too conservative? I would say we probably saw about 20 vacant spots today so far. Now, this place is called The Mark, East 77th Street. Now, this car caught my attention here. I want to show you guys. I'm not a big car guy, but this looks like some sort of a classic. Look at that. Anybody know what that is? That's really, really unique. Gold, silver, ice storms. As you said, you're a Zoomer before. How old are you? I don't know what a Zoomer is, but I'm 27 years old. But look at that. Anybody in the chat who has experience with vehicles know what this is? Oh, Who Dat Dave's is 55 Porsche. Yeah, F. Ravaris is so dead, but it's still good up here. Yeah, the Upper East Side is very different, and I'm glad I came up this way because we always walk around Midtown, and I want to show you guys different parts of the city. I think there's a lot of character here. Hey, Russ Lowry's. Let's just go to the front of the vehicle. Somebody says maybe an Aston Martin. Look at the garbage day here. We'll walk down this block because this looks the most like the Upper West Side. You can see all the sort of brownstone style buildings. I think the only difference here is that they don't have the big staircases. But really nice nonetheless. Look at this one. Wow, that is really great. Yeah, Michael Joseph's looks like parts of Brooklyn too. It kind of does. I think there's a lot of embassies here as well. Look at this. Oh, cool. Republic, the Union of Myanmar, the United Nations. Ah, very unique. Very cool. Look at this. With the big red door here. The lettering is too small. I'm trying to make it out for you guys. It says permanent mission of the Republic of the Union of Myanmar to the United Nations. Wow. Yeah, a lot of diplomats probably live up here. Look at this piece of architecture here. Really nice. Very cool. All right, we'll cross so we can see the front of the vehicle. And it looks like, guys, we're making good time. I'm going to be able to show you guys the Met, which is one of my favorite museums, probably top 3. The Frick Collection, number 2. And the Carrie Chang team. So if you guys are interested in this is a gorgeous townhouse. Look at that. So you have an opportunity to purchase this amazing townhouse in the heart of the Upper East Side. And the good news is that you're not even a block away from Central Park. Literally, your backyard is Central Park, okay? I mean, you can't beat that. This is over 30 feet double width townhouse. I think it may be 2 of them back to back. This one looks all brand new and resurfaced. Very cool. All right, I'll show you guys the front of it. This is the Mark. You know, the Mark is actually packed tonight. I think I don't know what this is, but maybe you guys in the chat could tell me. I don't know if I would ever drive in that, though. It looks a little bit too small to be going on the road. It's like a cool art piece. Okay, East 77th Street, Madison Avenue. We're going to make a left. MG. Yeah, what does MG mean? Yeah, little Larry Sellers says, guess it's an MG. It looks very unique and very cool, whatever it is. Evan Weeks is like it's an old British sports car. All right, 78th Street. I'll try to walk a little bit faster so we can get to the Met on time. But while we're doing that, since we already went over the weighting in the S&P, I wanted to quickly give you guys the weighting in the NASDAQ 100 because I think that's even more concerning. So we now have a historic weighting in the NASDAQ 100 where Microsoft makes up 12% of the indice. We have Apple making up 12% of the indice. And last but not least, Amazon with a 6% weighting. So again, the theory is if you want to buy an index, right, for diversification, it doesn't seem so diversified now when you have 30% of the NASDAQ 100 in 3 stocks. It's actually a little bit unbelievable. So you have 30% of the NASDAQ crowded into 3 stocks. Now, is this because we're seeing these companies get so big? You think about Apple, you think about Microsoft now with all of the open AI and chat GPT. It almost seems like these companies in the age of AI, in the age of cloud computing technologies. Oh my God, look at this building. This thing is gorgeous. It seems like the bigger the company, the bigger they get. The more innovation they can produce because they could just acquire smaller companies. I mean, look at the cash balance of Apple. Look at the cash balance of Microsoft. This actually looks like a brand new development. This is the Benson. But I don't know, I think it's something that we should watch because as we press further into this, this is a telescope or binocular store. Look at that. How unique is that? Look at that. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I thought I'd just bring that up. I've been watching that concentration, and I don't know how I feel about it. If it's good or bad, but I think this also is a sign that passive investing is going just to continue to grow. I mean, if you think about fund flows, passive fund flows into the stock market, every month, every 2 weeks, like clockwork. I mean, people all have an automatic deduction into their 401k, their IRA, and they're just buying these indices, right, regardless of valuation. So I think passive investing has a big part to do with it as well. Looks like they forgot to take down the Christmas lights. Here's another example of the vacant storefront. Yeah, Who Dat Dave says I've been a passive investor pretty much forever, very low expense. Yeah, I mean, same here. I've said before, the vast majority, this actually looks like a really nice restaurant, beautiful dog there. The vast majority of my retirement account is all indexed, right, to the S&P 500. I do have an actively managed account, but I mean, that's the thing, right? If, there's been so many studies done, especially by Vanguard. Wow, look at this tree. This is really, really unique here. Yeah, Keith. I think Keith gets the comment of the night. Microsoft buys much of their innovation. True. Well, I mean, they can, right? They're negotiating from a position of power, for sure. Wow, look at that. All right, we finally made it in record time, might I add. But yeah, there's been many, many studies done, especially by Vanguard. And Vanguard was founded by John Bogle or Jack Bogle. Unfortunately, he did pass away. But, over the long run, there's been studies done that it's not necessarily what you invest in, it's the mitigation of the fees, right? So if you think about the mutual fund products that had really, really egregious expense ratios and load fees, right? Does anybody remember the front load fee and the back end load fee? It was very common to see a mutual fund with 300 basis points of fees per annum. I mean, think about that, what that does to returns over an investing lifetime. So if you can buy a very cheap index fund that tracks the S&P 500 for less than 10 basis points, I mean, that's a winner right there. All right, guys, I'm so excited because Walks in Wall Street hasn't been up to Museum Mile, East 81st Street and 5th Avenue, the Met, in a year. I think it's been a year. Yeah, about a year. Now, this is a must visit, okay? If you're coming to New York, this is an absolute must visit. It just is an amazing, amazing museum. And I remember I used to come here all the time because as a college student, if you go to a city college, right? CUNY, City University in New York, you're allowed access into any of the museums free of charge. So I spent a lot of time here. Unfortunately, the fountains are still turned off for the season. However, it is the first week of spring, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see these fountains turn on pretty soon. But this is one of the best places in all New York City, right here. Yeah, Stephanie says, I love the steps. I do too. I think they just redid these, by the way, too. Hey, Dr. Longus, what's up, my friend? God bless you. Good to see you, sir. Now, how many people in the chat have been to the Met or plan on going pretty soon? Hey, FM says, thank you so much, Tom. I practiced my English with you. Hey, that's awesome, dude. That's so cool. FM says, Tom, I practiced my English with you to learn new words. Very cool. Oh, so you watched? That's really, really cool, man. Well, I'm glad I could help out. Thank you for watching. Look at this gold. What is the appropriate terminology for this? Is this a bust? I believe they're called busts, correct? Quinn says, Tom, are you faking it? Yeah. All right, let's walk up the stairs here. Joseph Hardaway's like, I plan on going now. You have to. It's one of the greatest places in New York. Oh, check that out. Here's a close-up. If you guys want to know a little bit more about it, feel free to scan the QR code. Hey, Patrick, New York. Good to see you, Patrick. So we are now on the very top steps of the Met. Oh, check out that building. Oh, 45, you were there in June. Very cool. I got to drink some water. And yet again, this is some good perspective of just how tall 432 Park Avenue is. It towers over the entire Upper East Side. Now, for some perspective, we are on 82nd Street and 5th Avenue. 432 Park Avenue is on 57th Street and Park Avenue. So a very, very long ways away. You can see there's only 2 security guards out here. Very quiet, very peaceful. Yeah, Bree Grams is like, I'm shook. Tom never says he has to drink water. Well, the thing is, this week it was very intense for me. A lot of meetings this week, a lot of conference calls this week. I did a ton of talking this week, more so than I usually do. I mean, we usually, stream for 2 hours every night. We do talking, but this week at work was like overdrive. So looking forward to sleeping in tomorrow, give my voice a little bit of a rest, enjoy the weekend. Now, another thing I'm looking forward to, you see all these trees here? Now, when they bloom in the spring and in the summer, this is so cool to walk through this pathway here, because it's almost like you have to duck under the leaves. That's how big everything gets when it blooms. Look at that. It looks like they're filming something. Guys, look at this. This looks like a big rig. So they mount the camera rig on the back of the car. Look at that. That's so cool. Now, I told you guys, I used to work on the Upper West Side, okay? 83rd Street between Amsterdam and Columbus. And it was a very similar rig setup to this, but instead of this, they would have a big Suburban, right? Like a big Suburban or a Cadillac Escalade. They would fold down all the seats in the back. They would open the trunk and they would have the camera set up there. And that's how they would film comedians in cars getting coffee. Is anybody familiar with that? I think I told this story before, but where I used to work literally right next door to Jerry Seinfeld's garage. And this was way back in the day. Look at that rat. It's a big guy. Look at him. Now, this was back in the day, right? But it was kind of cool to see the filming of that show. I'm not too sure how many seasons it lasted, but that's where they would start. You know, if they were, pulling out of the garage, you would see it right there on West 83rd Street. David S. You love that show? Yeah, it's pretty fun. I think my favorite episode is the one with the president. Right? Didn't Jerry Seinfeld manage to do with the president? Former President Barack Obama. It was a funny episode. Oh, you found it. Okay, Paul's like the Norm Macdonald episode was excellent. We were talking about Norm a couple streams back. Now, for whatever reason, everybody. Now, we know that the TikTok, right? The CEO of TikTok was, testifying before Congress, so there was a lot of algorithm talk. I think my personal YouTube algorithm, flipped out over the last 2 weeks because I've been getting served a lot of comedy, like old Norm Macdonald stuff, a lot of old Eddie Murphy stand-up, and I've been watching it just because YouTube has been showing it to me, and it's hilarious. I didn't even know who a lot of these guys were before. Obviously, I knew who Eddie Murphy was. I didn't know who Norm Macdonald was, but funny stuff. Javi H, so you 7 feet tall? No, it's funny. I'm actually 5'6". It only seems like I'm very, very tall because I'm holding the camera so high up in the air. But yeah, I'm a little guy. All right, guys, this is how you get across all of Central Park. So in theory, we could walk across the entire park right here. Okay, this will take us directly to the other museum, which is the Museum of Natural History. So here on the east side, you have the Met. If you walk all the way across, this is 86th Street Museum. That is the Museum of Natural History. So in theory, if we wanted to go to the Upper West Side tonight, we could just walk right across there. And here you can see, check this out, all of Billionaires Row right from here. Now we're walking down Fifth Avenue. This is right at Central Park. So I always get a lot of questions. What's it like in Central Park at night? Well, the answer is it's beautiful in Central Park at night. But here's another deep look into the park at night. Very, very beautiful. Hey, Western Mass Dave, what's up? This is Tom, loving the East Side Stroll. How are you tonight? I'm doing good. I'm happy that it's Friday, right? I'm usually not a huge, jump for joy it's Friday person, but this week was a very successful week, though. I'm very optimistic about the future. I'm working on a lot of big stuff, too. I'm working on a ton of big stuff. And hopefully, I'll be able to share that with you guys soon. But things are in the works. I'm optimistic about it. And I'm just tired. I just can't wait to sleep in tomorrow. I'm going to get a good rest, get a good workout in, maybe take a run in Central Park too. Try to keep my eyes off the markets. It seems like 24/7, 365, it's all about the markets. So hopefully this weekend will be market free. DJ review in under 2 says, Tommy, you headed to Miami soon? I am. So I got to go back. Here's another walking path inside Central Park. But anyway, I got to go back on March 31st. And the reason why I got to go back is I got to let the inspector in my house. So the insurance company is sending an inspector out, right? For, just to make sure the house is all right. Probably going to raise my insurance premium, which I'm not looking forward to, but yeah, I'll probably be back there for about a week. I'll probably spend all of the first week of April there. But I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of nice. You guys know I love warm weather. I love it hot. So I'm definitely not looking forward to my insurance going up, though. But look, that's a problem that a lot of people in Southern Florida are facing. Insurance is expensive, my friends. Very, very expensive down there. For obvious reasons. I think you guys could piece the puzzle together. We get hurricanes. We get all types of crazy stuff. So, yeah, hopefully it won't go up too much, but, hoping for the best. We'll see. Or maybe it doesn't even go up at all, and maybe they just want to inspect the house. Now, this week, you guys know we did a deep dive into existing home sales, right? We spent the entire stream on Tuesday doing that. Now, if you remember, yesterday we didn't do a stream, which I apologize for. But yesterday I was so busy, I couldn't even think straight. But yesterday we got some additional housing data. We got new home sales out. And for the third consecutive month in a row, we're seeing a recovery in sales transaction volume. And this directly correlates with a drop in interest rates. And I'm very curious, and I want to know what you guys think too, because I'm very curious to see how existing home sales and new home sales come in for the month of March. And here's why I say that. And it could go both ways. I'll sort of explain my position. Well, ever since this big banking crisis that's been going on, not only in the United States, but globally, bond yields have been plummeting, right, naturally. So think about where the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage was a week ago. 7.25%, right? 7.25%. Now it's 6.3%. On a 30-year fixed. So is this going to spur tons of buying activity? Or even though rates are lower, are banks just not even lending right now? Are things going to get super, super tight? I don't know. What are you guys seeing in your neighborhoods? Are you seeing a lot of houses go under contract? Over the last couple weeks? I could tell you I've been seeing a little bit of an uptick here in Manhattan. I don't know. I'd be interested to see what you guys think. Michael Joseph says commercial real estate is worse than residential. Yeah, I think commercial real estate is generally going to take a beating for reasons that we've discussed. Now, Silvergate, Michael Joseph, Silvergate had a ton of exposure, and they did, they're no longer around, a ton of exposure to New York City commercial real estate. Now, I know you follow me on Twitter, but for all of those who don't, head over to my Twitter handle. You could follow me at Walks Wall Street. I retweeted a really interesting article that gives the exact exposure of Signature Bank to New York City commercial real estate. And it is pretty eye-opening. Pretty eye-opening. So does everybody remember a couple, maybe like 10 minutes ago in the live stream, I showed you guys the Henry Clay Frick Museum? Does everybody remember that? Well, this is the original Henry Clay Frick house. This is his actual house. So if you guys are familiar with the Industrial Revolution, Henry Clay Frick played a major role in that, and he became a very, very wealthy man, one of the wealthiest people in the United States, and this was his actual house. Now, he turned it into a museum upon his passing, and this is one of the greatest museums in all New York City. The bad news is it's temporarily closed here. So the biggest and best attraction at the Frick collection was the house. Look at how gorgeous it is. The architecture inside is to die for, as you could probably already know. There's fountains, there's like huge water fountains inside. It's unbelievable. And it's closed because they're doing extensive remodeling to the inside. And I think it's going to be closed for over 5 years. So that's the downside, but remember that I said this, okay? East 70th Street and 5th Avenue. This is the Frick Collection entrance, 1 East 70th Street. And unfortunately, nobody's allowed in anymore. But I will tell you this, on opening day, I will be here. Whenever that may be, whenever they decide to open it again, I'll probably be the first one in there. Hopefully, we'll see. One more shot of it. Imagine owning a huge piece of real estate like this in Manhattan, literally right across the street from Central Park. I think this is probably the most prime real estate in all of New York City. Hey, Yogi's here. What's up? Yeah, Brendan O'Brien's is right on the park. Can't get more prime real estate than this. Hey, Bree Graham says it's my 6-year house anniversary, and the values have nearly doubled since I've been holding. Well, congratulations to you. I love to hear stories like that. You know, as we know, there's been tons of studies done that says for first-generation millionaires in America, right? So people who haven't inherited their wealth, right? Self-made. The vast majority of that first million is made up in equity in your home. So one of the most concerning data points, and we actually analyzed this, by the way, 3 days ago. One of the most concerning data points that I'm seeing right now, everybody, is the percentage of home sales that are happening right now, so deal flow, that's going to first-time home buyers is continuously shrinking to its lowest level in history, right? I think last month for existing home sales, it was less than 30% of all existing home sales went to first-time buyers. Now, what does that tell you about the economy? What does that tell you about class mobility in the United States? To me, it's saying it's getting a little bit tougher, right? So that is a major concern. To me, that says more young people are being priced out of owning things than ever before. Which is not good, by the way. Long term, that is a net negative to society, in my opinion. Now, people would disagree with me, but what I don't want to see, everybody, and this, again, this is my opinion, doesn't mean I'm right. I don't want to see, generally speaking, right? If we're thinking entire country, America, United States of America, I don't want to see us turn into a renter nation where nobody owns anything, right? Where you're forced to rent forever. I don't think that's healthy for a society. And, you know, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds. Look at this monument here. You know, if you look at birth rates in the United States, birth rates have declined significantly. And I think one of the main reasons for that is because younger people feel financially insecure, right? Why would I have a kid if I can't own a home and I'm not going to be able to provide for a good life for the kid? It's a serious problem. I don't think too many people are paying attention to it. But in general, generally speaking, it's good for a robust middle class and a healthy middle class for the average American to be able to own assets. I think that is unfortunately deteriorating in the US, but we'll see. All right, everybody, East 66th Street now. We're making pretty good time. We're almost back to the Plaza Hotel. Here's another entrance to Central Park that'll take you to the west side. Keith's home ownership has always been the American dream, as in aspirational, but it's not necessarily a right. Yeah, I wouldn't say it should be a right. I wouldn't say it's like, you know, you're entitled to it. All I'm saying is the trend that we're going in, right? And Ray Dalio has pointed this out as well. It's just becoming increasingly more difficult for young people to be able to afford a home. And, you know, even afford an investment property. When I mean a home, I'm not necessarily talking about an apartment or a single family home. I'm talking about a duplex, triplex, fourplex, right? Investment properties. Wow, look at this. Look at the detail on these doors. Guys, this is gorgeous right here. I almost walked right past it. It caught my eye. Look at the detail on that. Now, these look to be very big and heavy, sort of like cast iron. But look at that. Look at the detail. Hawaii's is another art dealer. No, I think this is a temple. Yeah, this is a temple. Look at that. Really nice. Hey, JM, thank you so much for your very kind donation. Appreciate you, JM, and thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you very much for your $10 donation. Very, very nice of you. And wishing you a very wonderful weekend as well. Oh, guys, I got to point this out. I don't want to film too long because they're probably going to come out and say something. But you see the very rich wood paneling here all along the wall? Especially like that, if you could see inside. It's like this very, very deep, almost like red oaky wood paneling. That is my dream setup for like a library. Have that wrapped and encased all around the apartment. That is, you can't get more classic New York than that. You know, if you want to build a library or something like that, that is how you do it. I think these are some of the cherry blossoms that are blooming. Maybe we'll have to do that. We'll have to do a cherry blossom stream for all you guys. They're just starting to bloom right here. You guys can see them. Yeah, Ali Star, right. Similar to the Morgan Library, very similar. Here's the zoo. Is that the Central Park Zoo? I haven't been here since I was a little kid, but I think this is the zoo, right? We'll check it out, might as well. Hey, the Papa Smurf OG. The FDNY is in the house, my friends. Good to see you. Happy Friday. Hopefully everything's all been well in your neck of the woods. We're on the Upper East Side tonight, OG. Very seldom do you see us walking up here, but it's kind of nice. Yeah, this is the Central Park Zoo. The zoo and cafeteria. Oh yeah, they have these signs up here. It says dogs must be leashed at all times. Anybody remember a couple years ago that big incident that blew up all over the news? I think the lady called I don't remember what happened. I think the lady had her dog off the leash or something like that, caused a big stink, and called the police, and it was all over the news. Anybody remember that? So they have all these signs up in the park that you got to keep your dog on the leash. All right, we're making our way. You're about to see the Plaza Hotel in just a minute here. J9 says, I've been to the Cherry Blossom Festival on Rikers Island. I don't know about Rikers Island. Are you talking about Roosevelt Island? I don't know if there's a Cherry Blossom Festival on Rikers. Yeah, I think you're talking about a different kind of festival over there. Quinn says a home should not be an investment property. A home should be a place for a family, says Quinn. Maybe, but I think if you look at the data, right, it's like, I'll give you an example. Right, like my home, I use it. It serves a purpose in two ways. Right, I live there. My family goes there, but I also rent it out for income because I don't want to pay for my house. Right, I want other people to enjoy it. Right, when they're on vacation in Miami, and I use that income to pay down the debt on the property. Now, when it's all paid off, right, and when I die, hopefully I'll die later rather than sooner, I pass it down and I deed it to my kids. Right? That's how you build, generational wealth. So your kids start off with millions of dollars worth of assets, right? If you look at the wealthiest people, they have big estates. So they own multiple properties that produce income in multiple places. They have a very diversified, broad-based equities portfolio. And when they pass away, they pass it down for their family, right? Their kids, their kids, their grandchildren, right? That's how you establish, a solid base for your family. Yeah, Dave S. says BlackRock is hard to compete with. They definitely are. Now look at this. Plaza Hotel. Look at that. Plaza Hotel here. I'll quickly call out all the notable buildings. You have the Plaza. Then you have the Steinway Tower. This is one of the newest buildings on Billionaires Row. This building with the very luminescent top is 157. Home to Michael Dell and Bill Ackman. The biggest one here is Central Park Tower. Now, if you look all the way at the top, maybe there's some big event going on, but the triplex atop of Central Park Tower is actually for sale for $250 million. Okay, $250 million. And this building with the gold top is 220 Central Park South to sort of round out Billionaires Row. Here you have the Fifth Avenue subway station. I love how they still have the original subway lanterns there. Hey, Deborah is here. Good to see you. Yeah, Will Hems is the future Walks on Wall Street party pad. You know, maybe if we all pool our money together, we have about what? For some reason, my Prism live stream is still not working functionally, so I can't see how many people are in the chat. But let's assume that there's 800 people in the chat, 700 people in the chat. If we all pitch in, maybe we could afford the $250 million penthouse. And you guys, I'll give each of you guys a key, and we could, at least maybe we'll make a dent in some of the maintenance fees. Now, I pointed this out before, but just in case we have any new people in the chat, we're coming up on a very famous building in New York that I think that is overlooked. I think it's overlooked by a lot of people, right? When you think about New York City and you think about famous buildings, yeah, you think about the Plaza Hotel, you think about the Empire State Building, right? And the like, but if you turn your attention over to the left, this is actually a very famous hotel and residences. It is called the Sherry Netherland. And if you're familiar with the story of Jesse Livermore used to frequent the bar at the Sherry Netherland all the time. Now, Jesse Livermore was probably one of the most successful stock traders of all time. He was the nicknamed Boy Plunger on Wall Street. And unfortunately, on Thanksgiving Day, he passed away in this building. He actually committed suicide right here at the Sherry Netherland. Now, I wish I could take the camera inside and show you guys around, because the lobby is just unbelievable in terms of the architecture, the design, the richness of the history in there. I can't do that because they do not allow filming, unfortunately, but if you just Google the Sherry Netherland, you guys gotta take a look at the lobby. I think there's probably more than enough photos on Google Images to satisfy you, but that is a very famous building right here. And this is the 24/7, 365 Apple store. Now, we talked about Apple a lot today. You know, it now makes up over 7% of the entire indice in the S&P 500, so extreme concentration risk there. But we're making the transition from the Upper East Side, to Midtown. And I think that transition is very well felt. Notice the buildings are starting to turn into these very tall office towers here. You see 432 Park Avenue. The big black building there is the Trump Tower. And you could sort of see the transition from the Upper East Side to Midtown. Hey, Tiago Pereira, welcome. Photos from around New York. Happy Friday to you, sir. This is Apple Store tonight. Maybe not tonight. All right, we're crossing over near the Bergdorf Goodman. Looks like they're putting in a new sidewalk here. Or maybe they're elevating the sidewalk. Look at that. Hey, Will M, $749 per night would be a great experience, I bet. Go throw back a Manhattan for Jesse. Yeah, for sure. Now, I also think you could purchase a residence in the building as well. Here, I'll show you guys. Now, maybe you guys could look this up in real time. Look up the Sherry Netherland. I think you can get a studio apartment for what, $650, maybe $700? I don't know, maybe one day when I could afford it, I'll buy it, and then we'll do a quick tour and a little bit of history on Jesse Livermore, reminiscences of a stock operator. Guys, before I forget, I gotta point this out, okay? Now, funny enough, my neighbor in Miami is actually a VP at Tiffany. And they are doing a total rip and replace and revamp of Tiffany & Co., the very famous jewelry store. Look at this. They finally took down all of the scaffolding here. You can see this huge sky deck. It looks like it has, you know, panoramic views of Central Park. That's probably where the restaurant is going to be. That is so unique. Now, when it opens, we'll probably, if we can, do a walking tour of that. But the inside is a complete rip and replace, totally gut renovated. And it looks like, if I had to guess, the restaurant's probably going to be on the top there. You guys see that? It looks like at least a 180, not quite 360 degree view of the city, but looks pretty nice. All right, let's make a right here, and I'll take you guys back to 59th Street. But if you guys have been enjoying the Upper East Side stream, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these streams about 7 days a week between New York City and Miami, talking about the financial markets. Once again, guys, this is that hotel I was telling you about. I think this is a very, very famous Japanese brand hotel. It's one of the most exclusive and luxurious hotels in all the city. It's called Aman. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but the spelling is A-M-A-N. And I think rooms go for a minimum of $2,500 a night, if you can believe that. Yes, that's correct. About $2,500 a night for the cheapest room right here. I actually just found out about this place, but if you can believe it, it is true. If you want to Google it yourself, A-M-A-N, New York. Now, I think they're located all over the world in major cities. And this is our New York location. Now, another thing I'm excited about, everybody, but I don't want to ramble on too much. They're building the Mandarin Oriental residences right on 5th Avenue. That is going to be a great piece of property, and hopefully I can get you guys access to that. That is going to be a trophy piece of property, and hopefully I'll be able to show you guys. But this is another very famous building. You guys see that one all the way in the distance? This is 53 West 53rd. Now, it is a Billionaires Row building. It is on top of another very famous museum here in New York City. It's called MoMA, the Modern Museum of Art. But rumor has it, guys, there's been some problems with that building too. Maybe we'll go into that on another night. Hey, Deborah, good to see you. Oh, okay, so Deborah's like, there's an Aman in Venice, Italy, also Morocco. I'm sure the room rates are comparable. Yeah, 45 says with that price, I'll stick with the Hilton or the Marriott. You know, I think the JW Marriott Essex House, which is right up here, which is on Central Park South, I think during the week you could probably get a room for like $350 to maybe $500, which is still very expensive, but I mean, that's a really, really nice hotel too. It's a 5-star hotel. Hey, Mike and Lizzie, this is greetings from Central Florida. Welcome. Good to see all of our Floridians in the house. I'll be back in Florida relatively soon. Appears to be another art gallery. Hey, John says greetings from New Jersey. What's up, John? Thanks for joining us. Guys, we've already been streaming for 2 hours. How is that possible? Hey, Vonda Howard says, hey y'all, just looked at the most expensive room at Amman. Yeah, I don't know if I would, even if I had the money, like let's say, okay, let's picture this, right? You have the money, okay? You're very wealthy. I just don't know if I could spend $2,000 on a room for one night. I don't know, it just seems wasteful. But I don't know, again, I'm not in that frame of mind because I don't have that type of money. But $2,000, people spend that in a month for rent. You know what I mean? If you go to the Midwest, you know, that's your mortgage payment for 2.5 months. Like, think about that. A mortgage payment for 2.5 months or one night, you know, in a hotel. It's probably a very nice place. I'm not trying to downplay it and say it's not nice. It's probably gorgeous. But I don't know, guys. $2,000 a night? Kind of crazy. Yeah, Yogi's like, you could write it off. Yeah, I think if my CPA saw that charge on my Amex bill, he'd probably chew my ear off. He'd be like, what the hell are you doing? Spending $2,000 on hotels. That's the kind of guy my CPA is, by the way. My CPA is a lifesaver. I will say this. Well, I actually can't, but for me, I think it's very worth it to get a CPA, especially if your taxes are very complicated and you're doing business in multiple states. You got to have a CPA you could trust. It's worth the money. Now, speaking of another nice hotel that's not as crazy expensive, right here. Hey, Deborah, thank you so much for your very kind $20 donation. This is Tom, $20 towards your room at Amman. Thank you so much. I promise I'll keep the $20 in an interest-bearing account, and when it grows to $2,000, I can guarantee you I will book a room, and I'll let you guys know what the experience is. You know, maybe I'll do that. I'll put the $20 in like a Schwab brokerage account, and I'll try to trade the $20 into $2,000. And once I trade it into $2,000, I'll book it at the hotel, and I'll let you guys know how it is. This is the Essex House, by the way, that 45 was talking about, the Marriott. You can see it all the way in the distance with the big signage on the top. FM says, can you recommend a cheap but nice hotel? So here's what I'd recommend. If it were me and I was visiting New York, there's a lot of really nice places on the Upper West Side that you can rent via Airbnb. Now, I know what you're thinking. Airbnb, it's kind of weird. To me, it's not. You know, you can get a really nice room for like $75, $100 if you're really on a budget. And there's some good spaces there. Speaking of really fancy hotels, we're passing the Park Hyatt, where I think here I'll quickly show you. This is the Park Hyatt New York. This is a 5-star hotel that's actually inside 157. This is Forbes Travel Guide, one of the finest 5-star hotel properties in the world. And I think it's about $1,000 a night for the cheapest room, I believe. But the interesting thing about the Park Hyatt is it's built into 157. So you notice how there's 2 entrances here. The first entrance is the actual residence, right? So you could buy or rent an apartment. The second entrance is the hotel. Now, there's a really nice restaurant in here too. It's called the Living Room. And there's a really, really nice saltwater swimming pool. There's a gorgeous gym as well. And it's all shared with the residences and the hotel. Kind of cool. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people said the pool and spa is great. It's really, really nice in there. I've been in there a couple times. Now, my friend is Hold on, let me cross here without getting hit. Now, my friend works at one of these boutique consulting companies, and sometimes he stays there at the Park Hyatt. So whenever he does, I use the gym. It's very, very nice. But guys, we're coming up on 2 hours. I think I'm going to let you guys go. I'll cut you guys loose right over here as we head towards Columbus Circle. And I want to thank you all for joining me on the Upper East Side walk and talk about the financial markets. I think it was a pretty good stream. I had a lot of fun. I'm happy that you guys got to see a different perspective of New York. I finally showed you guys Upper East Side after, beating the hell out of Midtown. So everybody, enjoy your weekend. Please be safe. I think this is the first official weekend of spring. So there's going to be a lot of people out and about. Be safe if you're enjoying it out at the restaurants, the bars, whatnot. I want you guys to come back in one piece. Enjoy your weekend, you deserve it, and we will see you back here tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. So Quinn, thank you so much, my friend. Abdullah, Muhammad, DM, thank you. Patrick, New York, Hawaii, Alexandria, Kevin Ramsey, Vonda Howard, Who Dat Dave, Western Mass Dave, Dr. Longest, Rich Child 9, Patrick, New York, Savi, Joseph Hardaway. And to the Mighty Bull, have a good night wherever you are, because there's always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. You can connect with us offline at Twitter, at Walks Wall Street. I'm wishing you guys a very safe, happy, and blessed weekend. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.